All right. I have special guest Sal here.
Hello, everyone.
All right. So we brought you on pretty much because your family for how long?
Will be 40 years.
40 years. Gets together, what, one weekend a year, pretty
Yep.
much, and makes what?
We make sauce for the entire year.
Sauce for the entire.
Pasta sauce, baby.
You know, and you mentioned to this to me last year, and I was real excited. And then leading up to this year, you're telling me about it, and like I think we're gonna do it this day, and then you go and you change it to a day I had to work.
I know.
I thought I was gonna maybe be able to pop in and see the process a little bit, and then and not only that, you have yet to like anytime you bring a lunch in. And I think you might have pasta, then you aren't hungry and you hide it. So I can't even see the sauce that you
Nope.
make. It's that much of a secret.
This mystical being.
All right, so let's get into it.
Yeah.
You guys, now this isn't like I'm going to talk a little bit later in this episode of making a sauce, but I did mine from canned tomatoes, where yours comes a little bit differently.
Yeah,
So from actual whole tomatoes.
correct. Yep. We have a farm where we get bushels of Roma tomatoes from.
Okay.
We've been going there since we've been doing this, really. And early on, we were all eager and young enough to go pick them.
Oh yeah.
That's not the case anymore.
Oh, I bet you. How long would that take?
We usually get out of like the first day of school. It's always around September.
Okay.
Whenever the tomatoes are ready. And that would be the entire afternoon, right when we get out of school.
Some people go pick apples. Some go to the pumpkin farm.
Yep.
And your family goes to pick tomatoes.
We go pick tomatoes.
And that's something I've never heard. It's like, hey, you know what? What are you guys doing today? Hey, I'm gonna go pick strawberries.
Yep.
I'm gonna go pick apples at the apple farm. Nope. Sal and his family, they're going to pick tomatoes.
Going to pick tomatoes, yep.
So let's put this on scale because you've kind of shown me pictures.
Yes.
How much? I mean, this is not a small endeavor. I mean, how many pounds or how do you even measure it?
Bushels, yeah.
How many bushels of tomatoes do you guys do?
So this year we did 12 bushels of tomatoes.
So if you had to guess, how many tomatoes or how much weight in a per bushel?
Oh, goodness. I couldn't put a weight on it. Maybe like 10, 15 pounds a bushel, maybe.
Okay. And I think a little bit later on, as we go through the process, it'll kind of put it a little more in perspective.
Yeah.
So you get a bunch of tomatoes. Mm-hmm. Then what?
Then we have our station set up. So we've been doing it. Next year will be 40 years. They've done it since '83. There is a wash station, and then there is a station to cut the tomatoes in half and pretty much squeeze the seeds and the slime out of it.
So all by hand. So
All by
you
hand.
Squeeze it by hand.
Yep. Give it a nice squeeze, get all that stuff out of there, and then we just have the raw tomato.
Okay, skin on it.
Skin on it. Yep.
So what do you do with the guts?
The guts just go into a bucket. That ends up going in the garden, into the soil.
Okay, so
Yep. That just gets
fertilizer.
disposed of. Fertilizer, if you will.
Okay.
Yep.
So you wash them. You have like what do you get the hose out?
So we have
Use it.
two buckets.
2 buckets.
Yep. So they come kind of sort of pre-washed from the farm, and so there's 2 buckets. We put them all in the first one, and then go into the second one, just kind of like a final rinse.
Okay.
And then that water gets changed out once you see, getting a little cloudy.
Right. So is there any solution, or is this just a water bath?
Nope, just bath. Yep.
All right.
No solution, nothing special.
Just 2-part water.
2-part wash. Yep.
So all right, you wash them, you half them. Mm-hmm. Then what?
Then from there, we have these big quart pans. We fill a little bit with water, and
Okay.
we'll boil them. So what that does is it makes the tomato a bit softer,
Right.
and it draws the moisture out of them. So then once they boil for an amount of time, because you just stir them around, you get a feel for it,
Right.
then they go into a drain. So we have these 55-gallon drums set up with a tablecloth as our catch, basically.
Okay, so the 55-gallon drum is what is going to catch. Does this what's going on to the next step?
Correct. No, that's just for draining the water.
Okay.
So these sit on top of the drum on the tablecloth to drain as much as the moisture out of the tomatoes as possible, with keeping all of the pulp and everything inside of it.
Okay.
Yep.
So you get them, you boil them, get them to that spot, you drain them. What's the next step?
Next step is hitting the tomato What's the name of it? There's a special name. The tomato. I'll find it. So basically, we run through. It's a little machine. It looks kind of like a meat grinder.
Okay.
And what we do is you put the tomatoes in. It goes through, and it basically pushes the sauce out of the tomato, and then pretty much the skin and the rind and everything go into a bucket.
So it's actually like there's like two shoots out of this thing, right?
Correct. One out, one forward, which spits the tomato skin out, and then there is a device that pushes the sauce through a cone, and then that gets funneled into a pan.
Okay.
Yep.
So you funnel it through the nice tomato masher. That's going to be the technical.
That'll
term
be the
for
technical
now.
term, right?
At some point, we'll learn what that is.
Tomato press.
Tomato
Sorry,
press. There we
tomato
go.
press.
So, but you did say you not only do this once, right? You throw it back through
We put it back through 3 times.
3 times. So now
times.
it separates that skin.
Yes.
Do you put that back through, or is that discarded?
The skin is also discarded for fertilizer, if you will.
So discard it. So
Yes, after
you
the
run
third time.
run it through. You get rid of the skin. You come out with a sauce. You run it twice more.
Twice more. Correct.
So I'm assuming then that just makes it a finer sauce at that point.
we squeeze as much out of it as we can. And then you'll notice after every pass, the tomato skin and material gets more and more dry with every pass.
Okay.
So we're trying to maximize the amount of sauce we get out of each tomato.
True, and
Maximum
I guess
efficiency.
I didn't think also of like that this machine, because it's literally a mechanical. What, you crank it by hand?
This
or-
one's actually electronic.
Oh,
There's a
electric
motor on the
one.
backside. Yeah.
So it's going to miss
Upgrade.
some. It's going to miss some of that skin, right?
Yes.
So okay, so it's also to make sure to get rid of all the skin,
Yeah.
essentially.
Yeah, and squeeze as much sauce as we can. Now, back in the day, it was just a belt-driven, pretty much like a meat grinder. It was a little worm gear, and it would just force it out through that funnel.
Yeah.
The tomato come out one side and the sauce come out the other. That had to be passed through a couple times, a couple more times than just 3.
And I've done, I've tried making sausage, and when using that, even when grinding it, the issue I notice with it is it gets clogged up. Mm-hmm. I mean, a tomatoes could be a little bit different than a piece of meat.
Right.
But would you guys, if you even remember, I don't know when you guys upgraded, did you still notice, did you have clogging of that older machine?
No, because the end that the tomato came out of was pretty free and open.
Okay.
Whereas when you grind the meat, I'm sure it's a little bit different. But yeah, no clogging of the machine with the tomato going through it. The old school machine.
So now I'm guessing if you run it through 3 times, you add a little seasoning, and you're good to go?
Pretty much, except all day cooking.
All day cooking. Oh, okay. So we're only partway through.
Partway
this.
through. Yeah, so the next step from there, it's going to be, depending on, because this is sauce basically for the entire year, split 3 to 4 ways between 3 and 4 families. Each of them have their own way of making the sauce with their own ingredients, but there's a base of what we use.
Okay.
And then just one certain family, they add like peppers or something like that. So,
Right.
So yeah, from there, we just started using my brother's flat top grill. We used to just prep the onions and the garlic, everything in a pan, multiple pans in the kitchen.
Oh.
We cut all the onions. Everybody's crying, having a great time, and stinking up the entire house. Once that's all cooked, then we add it to the sauce, and then it goes on the burner for. Man, we're usually done by noon, 1 o'clock, and canning by 9, 10 at night.
So the onion, I'm assuming quite a bit of onions are needed.
Yes, pounds and pounds of onions. Yes.
So now, back when you were a little younger, did you also go to the onion farm and pick your own onions?
No, we did not. Those were
tomatoes.
store-bought. That was on a smaller scale. Yep.
Okay, so you pretty much so is it just cut up? You just dice the
Yeah.
onion? So
Yep.
diced onions. Okay.
All diced. Yep. Found a trick too. If you cut and dice onions underwater, that's a trick.
Oh,
No tears, right?
I guess.
Cutting a raw onion, getting the fumes in there.
I always figured, that's half the fun is getting the tears.
Getting the
and-
tears, right? Get everybody a little emotional on it.
Right. All right, so you cook your onion, garlic. You stated.
Yeah.
So no garlic picking either.
No garlic.
No
picking.
garlic picking.
Store
All right,
bought
it's
also.
just all right.
Yes.
That's for my own knowledge as I'm picturing this, because I was kind of teased with maybe being able to check this out, putting it all into my head. You know, like
Yes.
I'm there reliving it.
Yes.
So all right, you get your onion, your garlic, and then I've seen pictures. The next step is cooking it, right?
Cooking it. Yep. And it's not just a set it and forget it type of thing. The sauce, we use some pretty decent burners. 60 quart pan, 240 quart pans, and they constantly need to be stirred, because otherwise, where the flame is hitting the pot itself, it'll burn.
Right.
So we're constantly somebody's always there on watch, stirring the tomatoes as needed, as they reduce.
Now, here's the biggest thing I've noticed. Now I have nowhere near as big. I want to say I have maybe a 20 quart.
Okay.
16 to 20 quart pot. Like if I make chili,
Yeah.
I'll make a double batch if I'm going to bring some in or do a party or something. And the biggest problem I have is having a spoon long enough.
Yes.
So, what do you guys use to stir it?
So these are old, like olive wood stirring spoons from the motherland, from Italy.
Nice.
And we got a couple of those. They just stay on top of the lid per pan, and then every once in a while it gets stirred. Well worn, by the way.
Yeah.
Yeah, it's I don't know how many more years we got left with
Oh,
those.
did you have a backup? How long are these bad boys?
They're probably 3 feet,
Okay,
3 feet
so
in length.
That's a nice size stirring pot. Maybe a small shovel.
Yeah, you
One
know
of those
what?
go.
That
Other-
small little coal shovel, maybe.
Yeah. Other than that would probably scratch the bottom of the pans.
Yeah.
But
We did tease the idea of getting like an automatic stir that goes on top of the pot, and then we saw the price, and it really wasn't that worth it.
it seems nice.
It was
right?
a bit, it'd be nice
For
but-
once a year, right?
Yeah, we can deal with the manual labor.
So you're dealing hours, right, of cooking.
Yes.
So
Yep.
so it's kind of reducing. I'm assuming at a certain point.
Yep, just so the sauce isn't so watery. Try to thicken it up a little bit. Yep.
So it reduces down. So you would pre-cook the onions, the garlic, whatever else you have. Yep. So that's added in the vats already.
That is
correct?
added in the pots.
So that's in the pots, and
Stirred
now it's
in
kind
there.
of marinating, so
Yeah.
to say, with the tomatoes as they reduce.
cooking all at once. Yep.
And then so several hours to do that. And he's going to share some photos. I'll put it together with this, so I'll try try lining it up almost step by step, so everyone can kind of see what we're dealing with. He showed me these pots. This is a lot of tomato sauce that they make. So boom, do you let it cool down? So you deem it's done.
Yep. We deem it ready to be jarred. So then we get a smaller team together, and basically one person's in charge of boiling the lids, brand new lids. Nope, we don't reuse anything. We reuse the jars. Those get cleaned.
So question, because this is something I'm actually really curious on. I've never tried. So reusing a jar, is there a certain way you have to clean it? I know bacteria, stuff like that, when
Correct.
canning can be, you can make yourself sick or kill somebody.
Right.
And you're still here, so obviously your family has been doing it proper.
It's worked, yeah.
So can you? So I have a used one. How do you clean it? What's the best way of cleaning it?
Basically, we just put it in the dishwasher. Nothing
Dishwasher.
special. Yeah.
Dishwasher will do it.
Get some hot, high heat water, and some whatever dishwasher soap of your choice.
All right. So that's a lot easier than I thought. So it's already making this
sorry
way.
to burst your
No,
bubble.
that's a good thing though.
I should have come up with something just
the
magical.
the laziness in me is now like, wait a second. So this isn't so bad.
Yeah.
So now and I recently had bought some mason jars. They were just like refrigerator pickles, and I did notice there's almost like was it like a wax on the lids?
Yeah, for the seal.
Okay, for
Yep.
the seal. So you boil those.
Yep.
And
Get
then
those nice and soft.
and you told
clean.
me the rest of how you do this. So why don't you just explain it?
Yeah. So as the sauce is still on the heater, somebody is scooping sauce into the jar, and we have people ready to throw a lid and a cap on it. Once it's capped, the next person takes it, tightens it real nice. We put them upside down, and we all stack them in a row on a table, basically. So with that jar being upside down, as it cools, it will actually suck itself into a vacuum and seal itself. And then once we run out of sauce, and all the jars are full, we basically keep it in the garage overnight, shove blankets on top of it, so it's a nice, cool slow down
Okay.
gradually. Nothing quick where you don't want anything
Shocking
weird
it,
happening to the
right.
sauce, right? Making anybody sick. So, yeah, and then that's pretty much the end of it. And then the final count of how many pints and quarts that you have.
So what was it this year? Do you
This year
remember?
it was 116 quarts.
116 quarts.
Quarts of sauce split 3 to 4 ways. And
And the guy has yet to even let me see this sauce. You know,
just got to have some buy-in first.
I'll go pick the garlic next year, all right?
You're in.
I don't know. Anyway, if anyone knows of a good garlic farm here in the Wisconsin, southeastern Wisconsin area, let me know.
give us an in. Yeah. And the problem was with this year, it was a little later than normal. Not the latest. There was one time where we've done the end of September.
Okay.
It's usually right when school starts, that first week of September. That's when we're making sauce. Tomatoes were a little bit late this year. So, and it's not, it wasn't that if we waited a week, they may have been overripe
Right.
and a little bit messier to make, but also doable. But this was the perfect time, unfortunately.
Timing really of when you do it really comes down to the tomatoes and when they're ready.
Oh, yeah. It's not when you're ready. It's when the tomatoes are
When
ready.
the tomatoes are ready.
Yep.
You know, it's good life advice.
Yeah.
You
Live
know?
by the tomato.
It's like, little Johnny, what are you doing? It's like, remember, it's not when you want to clean your room. It's when the tomatoes are
made.
ready. The tomatoes are ready, little Johnny. Go clean your room.
Yep.
That's fascinating, and I love the pictures. And I know last year you told me about it, and this year you took a lot more pictures. So you'll have to send those to me. Like I said, I'll put a little video together.
Yeah.
that would be cool because you could share it with your family too. They can kind of see you talk about your the process, because I don't know anybody else who does this.
Right. Yeah.
I mean, that's labor intensive. I've personally I've made pasta a few times.
Mm-hmm.
And I recently tried making a sauce, but nothing to that. I kind of let the whatever brand kind of take care of a lot of it.
Take care of your needs, right?
Take care of
Yeah.
the needs.
No sugar needed in our sauce. No sugar. No extra sugar. So, but even the guy we get the tomatoes from, he always asks. He's always curious how we do it. And we told him about the whole boiling the tomatoes to get most of the moisture out easily, you
Yeah.
know? And he was like, oh, yeah. He's like, that's the biggest part. He's like, if we make sauce from tomatoes, fresh tomatoes, which is doable, you got to let it reduce a little more. Otherwise, it's pretty watery. He's like, yeah, my wife will put it in like a couple crock pots, let it go for like a couple days, let it cook, let it reduce. So, yeah.
Well, I thought it was kind of interesting too, and obviously the canning piece of it takes care of this. But I actually went. There's a store, local store. I forget the name of it, where it's salsa, and I went in there and I bought some. I've never even tried it yet. I'm like, that's one thing I haven't tried doing yet is making my own salsa.
Right.
And so one thing he told me is like, I'm gonna give you one word of advice, because if you get fresh tomatoes, how long are those good for? Now, when you get canned tomatoes, how long are those good for? So it's like, okay, it makes sense. If I'm sitting there and I'm making something, but there again, how long is my onion going to be good for?
Right.
And once you open it, you open it. So, but yeah, it's something I'd never heard anybody do, and I think that's cool tradition to pass down. I mean, do you recall what was the story and why they started doing this?
No, I don't. It's just my grandmother and grandfather from Italy, they make everything. They made everything, and they brought those traditions over with them. I mean, we'll do sausage, all sorts of different meats, cheeses. We do our own wine. It was just a part of growing up, and just how they did stuff.
Oh, that's great.
Yeah, it's very cool.
You don't get that much, but there again, I mean, let's face it, as definitely a different generation.
Oh, for sure. For sure.
I'll be able to pay the $6 and go get a little bit of prosciutto or whatever I
Right.
need from the store.
Yep. We can just go downstairs in the cellar and slice it. You
Right.
know, it's just completely different, and I'm grateful for it too. All that as a kid, I don't want to do that. I want to make sauce this weekend. I'd rather play video games and go ride my bicycle with my friends. I appreciate it now because
Yeah.
it's part of what we do, and it makes us sauce for the year, and I get to pass it down onto my children and hopefully keep this going.
Yeah. No, that is great. anything to keep some of that old school traditions going.
Yeah.
Because let's face it, there's some good stuff you can buy in the store, but something about making it yourself.
It's just that much more special.
It is.
Yeah.
And especially if you, well, obviously your family doesn't, or at least you, but if you shared it with somebody and they're like, wow, this is really good. That pride that you have in it. But it's Sal's best kept secret.
Not for much longer.
Yeah, now people will know a little bit. All right. Well, hey, thanks for joining us. And
absolutely. Thanks for having me.
Maybe we'll have to discuss a little bit some of this other stuff you want to make. Maybe do this again.
Yeah, absolutely. I'm up for anything.
Awesome. Thanks, Sal.
Yeah, thank you.